You look calm on the outside, but inside there's a constant war between who you are and who the world expects you to be. You spend your days analyzing every emotion, second-guessing every decision, and carrying the weight of unspoken thoughts that no one else even notices. You're always thinking deeper, feeling more, observing things others miss, and yet it often feels like no one truly sees you. This is the hidden battle inside every quiet INFJ. You've learned to adapt, to smile when you're hurting, to listen while your own voice goes unheard. And after years of keeping it all inside, you're beginning to wonder, when do you get to be understood? You think deeply about everything, but rarely share it out loud. You're constantly analyzing, connecting dots others don't even notice. Your mind never really shuts off. You process life on a level so layered and intricate, it would take hours just to explain a single thought. But instead of speaking, you stay quiet because you've learned that most people either won't get it or won't care to try. You've shared your insights before, only to be met with blank stares or shallow responses. And over time, you realized it's easier to keep things to yourself. Not because you're secretive, but because your depth doesn't belong in every room. So you keep it inside, letting your thoughts echo in solitude. It's not that you don't want to be heard. It's that you're waiting for someone who actually wants to listen, someone who values what's beneath the surface instead of just reacting to the silence on top. Until then, your quiet becomes a boundary, not a weakness. You often feel like an outsider even in places where you're accepted. Even when you're surrounded by people who like you, even when you're technically included, there's still this invisible distance you can't shake. You nod, you smile, you engage, but deep down, you don't fully feel like you belong. It's not because you're antisocial or cold. It's because you see the world through a different lens, one that's more observant, more intuitive, more intense. While others are content with surface-level conversation, you crave connection that touches the soul. You pick up on subtext, contradictions, and undercurrents that no one else seems to notice, and that can be isolating. It's like you're fluent in a language no one around you speaks. So even in moments of acceptance, you feel like you're performing a version of yourself. The real you, that stays behind the curtain, protected, not out of fear, but out of necessity. Because feeling like an outsider isn't about not being liked, it's about not being truly seen. You're constantly torn between wanting connection and needing solitude. You crave deep, soul-level connection, conversations that feel like electricity, and silence that feels like safety. But the moment things get too loud, too draining, or too shallow, your entire system starts shutting down. It's not that you don't want people, you do. You long for connection that's real and rare. But your nervous system is wired to need space to breathe, process, and recharge. So you find yourself constantly pulled in two directions, longing to be close and needing to be alone. It creates this quiet ache, wanting to be understood, but not always having the energy to explain yourself. Sometimes people misread you as distant or cold, when really, you're protecting your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. You've learned the hard way that too much noise from the outside world can drown out the voice you trust most, your own. And so you walk a delicate line between opening your heart and guarding your peace. You analyze people's energy more than their words, and it drains you. You can't help it. Before someone even finishes a sentence, you've already picked up on their tone, their tension, their subtle shifts in energy. You read between the lines instinctively. You notice what's not being said just as much as what is. And while this ability gives you incredible insight, it also comes at a cost, because constantly analyzing the emotional atmosphere in a room or tracking someone's unspoken feelings takes a toll on your nervous system. It's like your mind never gets to rest. It's always on alert, always translating. Most people don't realize how exhausting that is. They assume you're just quiet or observant, but you're actually running a silent, full-time emotional analysis behind your calm exterior. It's why you often feel drained around certain people. Even when they haven't said a word, their energy speaks louder than their voice, and you've trained yourself to listen. Sometimes you just wish someone else would do the same for you. You overthink your emotions because you feel them so intensely. Your emotions don't just pass through you, they settle deep. One comment, one shift in someone's tone, one unexpected moment can replay in your mind for hours, even days. You dissect it, trying to understand what you felt, why you felt it, and whether your reaction was too much. It's not because you want to complicate things. It's because everything hits you harder than it seems to hit others. You carry layers of feeling behind every experience, and it's hard to shut that off. So you overthink, not out of weakness, but because your inner world is so complex and you want to make sense of it all. Most people don't see this battle. They see someone calm on the outside, but inside you're navigating waves that never stop moving. You don't want to be ruled by your emotions, but the truth is, you're constantly trying to understand them because they shape everything about how you experience the world. You struggle to express your needs, fearing they'll be misunderstood. You often hold back when it comes to expressing what you truly need because somewhere along the way you learned that your needs confuse or overwhelm people. You've likely been told you're too much or too complicated, even when all you really wanted was to feel understood. So now, instead of risking that rejection, you stay quiet. You figure things out on your own. You suppress the urge to ask for more, even when it hurts, because you've convinced yourself it's easier to deal with the emptiness than to risk the disappointment. You tell yourself you're being independent, strong, self-sufficient, and in many ways you are, but deep down, there's a quiet ache. The desire for someone who just gets it, without needing a full explanation. Someone who won't label your depth as neediness, but will recognize it as the emotional honesty it truly is. You're not weak for having needs. You've just spent too long pretending you didn't. You crave authenticity, but feel like the world rewards masks. You've always craved realness, genuine conversations, honest emotions, unfiltered connection, but what you've noticed is that the world often rewards the opposite. It rewards performance, charm without substance, surface-level smiles that hide what's real. And so you start to question yourself. You wonder if there's something wrong with you for not being able to fake it. You feel like the odd one out for wanting depth when everyone else seems content with small talk. The truth is, your authenticity makes others uncomfortable because it confronts what they've learned to hide. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you see things others avoid. It means you value truth more than comfort. And while that path can feel isolating, it's also the one that protects your integrity. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to live aligned with who you are, even if it means being misunderstood. Because in the end, masks may win crowds, but authenticity builds real connection. You adapt to others to keep the peace, then feel lost in the process. You've spent so much of your life adapting, adjusting your tone, your words, even your presence, just to avoid conflict or discomfort. You sense tension before anyone says a word, and you instinctively shift yourself to soothe it. You become the peacemaker, the listener, the one who holds space for everyone else. But somewhere along the way, you start to forget what you actually want. Your needs, your voice, your truth. They get buried under the pressure to maintain harmony. You walk away from conversations feeling invisible. You look in the mirror and wonder who you're really becoming. And the hardest part is no one sees this struggle. To them, you're calm and kind, but inside, you're quietly disappearing. The more you adjust to fit in, the more disconnected you feel from yourself, until one day you realize keeping the peace isn't peace if it costs you your identity. You begin to reclaim your space, not by fighting, but by showing up as your real self. You carry a quiet strength, but it often feels like emotional isolation. You've always carried yourself with quiet strength. You process deeply, reflect silently, and endure more than most people realize. On the outside, it looks like calm, controlled, wise, but on the inside, it's isolating. Because while you're holding everything together, there's rarely anyone holding space for you. People assume you're fine because you don't fall apart. They assume you're confident because you don't seek reassurance. But the truth is, it gets lonely being the strong one, especially when no one sees the effort it takes to keep going. You don't open up easily, not because you're closed off, but because your inner world is sacred, and most people don't know how to hold it. You long for someone who sees past your calm exterior, who recognizes that strength doesn't mean you never need support, and until then, you keep carrying yourself quietly, hoping one day your strength won't feel so invisible. If this spoke to something you've never been able to put into words, you're not alone. You don't have to keep carrying everything in silence. This channel is a space where your inner world is finally understood. So if that matters to you, stick around. There's more here for you.